The New York Jets offense is once again offensively bad. For those of you keeping score, you listening to me right now have scored the same amount of touchdowns today as the New York Jets have. This is Rich Sports Talk, your home for all the latest and greatest on the New York Jets. We're going to break down the Panthers game, who should start quarterback going forward, and how hot is Aaron Glenn. All this and more coming up on Rich Sports Talk. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rich Sports Talk, your home for all the latest and greatest on the New York Jets. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss our latest live stream. Check us out at Rich Sports on Twitter using the handle at Rich Sports Talk. And, of course, if you are listening to us in your pocket, you can always take us on the go wherever podcasts are available. The Rich Sports Talk podcast is available. The New York Jets, winless, offensively bad offense. For the second straight week in a row, the defense looks good. But once again, we come out of this game with a lot more questions than unfortunately we have answers. And look, this game, once again, the coaching decisions in this game have you questioning everything about this regime. Let's just start off with the opening drive. Jets go down 4th and 5 from the 33. This offense would struggle to score points, and this team, and again, Aaron Glenn is up at the press conference, so I'm going to try to keep my eyes on what he says, and we'll look at some of the big things that they say, because we all know last week's press conference went glowingly well. But you look at this team at the 33, 4th and 5 with Justin Fields. Just take the field goal. Just get the points. Just get the field goal. And I have a serious question. I hope someone asks. And again, it probably won't get asked because it's one of a million things you want to ask this coach. But last week, when it was brought up in the press conference to Aaron Glenn, why didn't they go for the game-winning field goal, which was about a 61-62-yard, he said, well, it would have been about a 67-yarder. Huh? Like, did he think this was a longer kick, and that's why they went for it on 4th down? Again, they're a winless team. It's not necessarily that they went for it. I'm just like, it's 0-0. Just get some points. Just come out of that first opening drive that you took away points and give your team a lead. And they didn't do that. I look today, too. This is an undisciplined team. John Simpson, who's someone I love the attitude he plays with, but he did not have a good game today. He got pulled after a bad personal foul, multiple penalties. This defense, look, they had their faults today. They allowed that 4th and 3. They ended up giving up a touchdown there in the first half. But look, when you go back-to-back weeks of only allowing a touchdown defensively, when you go back-to-back weeks with great defensive performance, when you only allow 13 points, you should win those football games. I'm sorry. This football team, this offense is dreadful. And the sad part is we've seen bad offense. Jet fans, like, if we know certain things in life, we know what a bad offense in the NFL looks like. This team now has not scored a first-half touchdown since week 1. This team is also not scoring a touchdown in the last 8 quarters. It is just so frustrating to watch this team. And I'll give Aaron Glenn credit. At least he learned from last week. He brought in Tyrod Taylor in the second half. And I'll get to Tyrod Taylor in a minute, my thoughts on his performance. But Justin Fields, it's not going to work with the Jets. It is clear. They might go back to him at some point this year, but he's not the long-term answer. And it raises questions about this regime, thinking that he was worth the $30 million lottery ticket. And again, at the time, looking at the options, if they weren't going to go with Aaron Rodgers, I thought, okay, Fields and maybe draft someone late on day 3, make it intriguing this year. But we were just hoping that Justin Fields, like so many other quarterbacks who have figured it out, like Sam Darnold, like Baker Mayfield, have found it in other places. And they were kind of hoping that would happen here. But unfortunately, the problems with Justin Fields do not look fixable. You look only 25 net pass yards in the first half, 6 of 12 for 42. In this coaching staff, there are certain things you have to avoid. Last week, when this team in London, at the end of the half, had a mind-numbing, they just let the clock run out. They did it again. Aaron Glenn said we should try to Hail Mary. Jets had timeout. I know Fields got sacked on the play, but you're just going to walk out and basically they quit. The Jets and this team, they quit. And I know their offensive bad. I know they don't trust their quarterback. And I'll get to that in a sec. But the fact that you got ridiculed on national TV for the entire week, basically, about how you were so inept at handling the clock at the end of the half, and you did it again. This staff allowed it to happen again. I mean, Jet fans, we are just going through Groundhog Day right now. So let's get to this too. This offense looks horrific. The offensive protection, again, I don't think it's all their fault, but 6 sacks today. The Panthers had 6 coming into this game. Tyrod in the second half. And look, Tyrod did not have a great game. He underthrew a wide open trick play, double clutch to Lazard, underthrew him, then threw the interception on the next play. I mean, he had some wide open guys down the field. But the problem is he had just come off the bench. He really wasn't in the flow of the game and wasn't really warm. So I kind of wonder, and this is a thought I had watching this game. If Tyrod Taylor came in last week, I think we all agreed the Jets had a better shot to win that football game. I was sitting there thinking today, if Tyrod Taylor had started this game where he was able to get into a flow of this offense, was able to use play action, was able to not be forced to basically throw because the Jets were down. They had to throw. He had to force throws in this game. Would they be in a better position to win? Are we talking about a team, if Tyrod finishes last week, they get the win, he starts today. Are we talking about a team that's 2-5? And we're saying, hey, Glenn made the right decision. Glenn and his offensive staff made the gutsy call. They moved on to Tyrod Taylor. This team's 2-5. They're at least moving in a positive direction. But instead, we're sitting here at 0-7, scratching our heads. And I'll say this. I always bring this up on this program because I think it is so important with coaching in the National Football League. I do look at the press conference. I do think it's important what coaches say. But I always say this. When it comes to coaches, their actions speak louder than words. Their actions will tell you how they really feel. And for the last couple of weeks, Aaron Glenn has defended Justin Fields. He's defended Justin Fields, saying, Justin's our guy. Justin's our guy. Justin's going to figure it out. Justin's going to figure it out. But when I watched the play calling, how conservative it was, how much they didn't trust him to read the fields, how much they didn't trust him to go through progressions, that was telling. Because when I saw in the second half was a vastly different game plan. You saw guys wide open. You saw them try a trick play because I can guarantee you they did not trust Justin Fields with the trick play. They basically opened up the passing game, and all of a sudden, for the first time in what feels like weeks, this passing game, even without Garrett Wilson, even with Breece Hall mostly on the sideline in the second half, shows signs of life. And I understand it wasn't pretty. I understand that it wasn't exactly like Tyrod Taylor was incredible, but here's the difference. Tyrod Taylor had 126 yards passing in the second half where the other team knew he was throwing. Fields was 6 of 12 for 46. Breece Hall, again, they didn't get him really going in the second half. Isaiah Davis, I think, needs to be more involved. Tyler Johnson, 3 catches for 60. Mason Taylor had 3 catches as well. Josh Reynolds, 3 for 29. But, man, this defense, it's frustrating because the first couple of weeks has been like if this defense could figure it out, they would have won more games. And now the defense seemingly has figured it out. The young kids are flying around out there. I thought that Malachi Moore had a really nice game today. I think Kiko is nicely coming along. These young kids, A.Z. Thomas got some reps in there. I thought they played pretty well. And this is a pretty good offensive team. And they held them to 13 points. They held them to a touchdown. And at the end of the first half, this team too, there were so many times in this game I was just waiting for the Panthers to blow it open. Waiting for the Panthers, even with Andy Dalton, just to blow it open because that would have been the, quote, same old Jets. But this defense, they gave this offense opportunity after opportunity after opportunity in this game. And this offense could not get it done. So here's my thoughts on Tyrod Taylor. He needs to start for the rest of the season until he either gets injured or they just decide to move on to Cook. Tyrod needs to play. And here's the big reason why. Do I think Tyrod gives them their best chance to win? At this point, I think he does. But here's the thing. Connor Hughes revealed earlier this week on his Jets show that he had multiple players during this offseason come up to him on the offensive side and say, look, we feel Tyrod's a better quarterback. And look, from a pure passing standpoint, it is clear. What Fields brings to the table, we know the playmaking ability. But the Jets need a quarterback. The offensive line, the protection looked better when he was in there. The confidence of this team looked better. But here is the biggest reason why. And I said this after last week's show, during last week's show. This is an evaluation year. And right now, Tyrod Taylor gives you the best chance to evaluate these guys and the best chance for these guys to progress. Because this offensive line, especially the tackles, have been going through it. With Justin Fields, was someone holding on the ball, and you saw Membu last week in London get frustrated with this offensive line. With this quarterback play. You could just sense that this team had a different spark to them. Aaron Glenn, offensively, we have a lot of work to do. Well, you haven't scored a touchdown in 2 weeks. I think there's a lot of work to do. But with Tyrod, you need to get evaluations. You understand that Mason Taylor, again, you saw with Mason Taylor today, you saw that this team had some life with their tight ends. But you also saw, we all were during this offseason, Arian Smith, touchdown opportunity, drops it right in his hands. You need to find out what players can play on this team and which ones can't. And look, even Victor Green is one of the most positive Jet people. He's like, I am speechless, Jet fans. I am just speechless. So when Victor Green, who's been the most positive person, one of the few really positive people in Jets land, is just incredible. And look, this team is just so frustrating. And you go back to this offseason, I think this is why Jet fans are so angry and frustrated. It's very simple. The questions that we had this offseason have reared their ugly head. And when you have a staff, and especially a head coach that has told this fan base, hey, we're not really taking a step back. We're going to compete, and we like the guys. And we're like, yeah, but I'm not sure. And again, Aaron Glenn, we'll get to some of his post-game comments in a second. Your chats in a minute, too. Again, get your chats in Super Chat to jump to the front line and donate to the channel. But when I just look at this team, we knew that the lack of depth at wide receiver was going to bite them, and it has been them. I was saying when I was talking to Dom C in our last show, they need to utilize the tight ends more, and they're just flat out refusing. They could have brought a number 2 or a veteran wide receiver. They did it. They could have addressed the wide receiver because it's clear. When you look after Garrett Wilson, the Jets don't have a number 2 receiver. They don't have a number 3 receiver. You can make the case they don't even have a number 4 receiver. They're just that bad. And we saw with the defensive end depth for weeks with Michael Clemens, who, again, had another nice over pursuit, which led to some big plays in this game. We talked about certain parts of this team that we were worried about. And wide receiver was one of the ones that I kept hearing from everyone on this channel. Everyone say, I'm worried about the wide receivers. Why didn't we draft the wide receiver? Why is the one wide receiver drafted a project guy that has catching issues? And it's come back to rear its ugly head. So some of the things from Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn is non-committal with the quarterback for next week, which again, I think it should be Tyrod. Aaron Glenn obviously disappointed offensively. We have a lot to work to do. That speaks for itself. Aaron Glenn on bench at Justin Fields. We needed a spark. They needed it last week too. I guess the silver lining is they're learning from last week. Aaron Glenn, if he's concerned about his message not getting through if they keep losing. Here's what gives me hope. How they come out on Wednesday. Oh, my God. We're not getting results we want players. Stop, Aaron Glenn, referencing practices. We're not there. We're not watching the practices. I swear, Aaron Glenn, can someone in the Jets PR just talk to Aaron Glenn? Even better. Get me in a room. Get all of us Jet content creators. Give us 1 hour in a conference room at Florham Park. And we will basically say, Aaron Glenn, don't say this, or this if you don't want to piss off this fan base. We don't care about practice. Your team is 0-7. They're winless. This is inexcusable. And you can make the case your coaching decisions have cost this team wins. And you have to be wondering, and you worry about losing the locker room. Are the defensive guys who, again, first couple weeks, they didn't have a leg to stand on, but now the last couple weeks have done their job. You think they're looking at Aaron Glenn going, if we played Tyrod Taylor the last 6 quarters. Are we a 2-5 team at this point? Like, could that be a situation if we don't screw up the Pittsburgh game? Are we 3-4? Like, all these different scenarios are going on in your head. And the fact that it took this long to move on from Justin Fields is alarming. And look, Tyrod Taylor's got to be the quarterback the rest of the way. And I know Tyrod Taylor is not an incredible quarterback. He's got his faults. He throws on the ball. We saw it today. He'll push it down the field. He'll take shots. But, man, Aaron Glenn, like, you say your message, but your messaging has not been good because you talk about messaging with the players. Part of being a head coach in the National Football League is knowing how to message with the media, who is basically your fan base. And I'll tell you, because I've seen a lot of the comments, the messaging has been poor. The messaging has been horrific. Like last week when you were standing like up there, like, and again, Brian Costello must have been smirking this whole time in this press conference. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in that room because, you know, when Kaz asked a very innocent question last week, did you think about going to Tyrod? And Glenn bristled saying, I didn't even consider it. You know, today, a week later, we're here 7 days later, and the thing you said, oh, you bristle about, you did today. So I guess you learned that, hey, you can go to your backup for a spark. Again, comments, super chat, jump to the front of the line. The Who. What scares me right now is we have to face Miami. No, they already played Miami, so only one more. The Jets may beat Miami twice. Look, I'm not even going to talk about tanking the Who, but you know what? It's bad. It's freaking horrendous. Yeah, and we already played Miami. K-Con Jet fan, I see your first comment. I don't want to put that up, but again, that is a very appropriate comment. If we had kept Rodgers and drafted Dart, we'd be a playoff team. I don't know about that. Again, you can ask these questions, and I think that's a serious question Woody has to be asking. Now, again, I want to see Jackson Dart get a couple more starts. I want to see how he performs. But when I look at it, and Woody has to ask serious questions right now. He said, guys, and this leads to the hot seat. Because, again, it has to look horrendous. The Jets haven't scored a touchdown in 2 weeks. Like, they are inventing new ways to look horrific. And the bad thing is, with Aaron Glenn made the decision he didn't want Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Glenn made the decision because as much as Darren Muji is the GM, it is clear everything goes to Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn made the decision with all the quarterbacks this offseason. Mac Jones, all these different quarterbacks. He made the decision to go with Justin Fields. And it is a disaster 7 games into the tenure. We still have 10 games to go. So if you're sitting here today, and I've asked this question countless times, and it is a very important question. Do you trust this regime to make the right decision at quarterback? Because so far, you wouldn't feel good. And when you look at the Jets in the offense in the first half this season, they put in the numbers. 43 points, dead last. Point differential, negative 67, 31st. Every other category, dead last. And this is the staff you're going to entrust with a young quarterback? Justin Fields, again, this is his 3rd game. Think about this. Justin Fields has started, this is his 3rd game. Half the games he's played, basically, without a touchdown. That is inexcusable. And again, like Kev brings up a good point, this offensive line, they've gone so predictable. The protection just looks so much different with Tyrod Taylor out there. It was just so frustrating. Again, super chat, jump to the front of the line. If he mentioned the lines again, guys, let me know if he says in the press conference, but like, stop comparing. This team is not the lines. Those lines fought their you-know-what's off. This team, like, they just look inept. They haven't scored a touchdown in a league where scoring is encouraged, in a league now where you basically get the ball on average at the 30 or 35 yard line. They cannot score touchdowns. They cannot score touchdowns. I mean, at this point, it's trending that way, Christian A. I mean, we talked about quarterbacks on the channel Friday night, our last live stream. We went over Fernando Mendoza, we over Dante, so all that great stuff. If you want to talk quarterbacks, because again, it's Groundhog Day, and again, we'll talk about the trade deadline coming up. It just looks horrendous. And JW, it's trending that way. Like, I'm looking at the schedule. The Bengals with Joe Flacco look decent. Like, I'm the only game I can kind of see is Miami at home, just because it'll be cold. They'll sneak a win. The Dolphins are a terrible team. Again, they look terrific. I think McDaniel will be gone. Like, I think the Jets are going to finish. If you ask me today, I think they're going to stumble somehow into a win and be 1-16. But I'll say this: if this team is 0-17, Aaron Glenn's gone. I mean, if you have the number one pick and you are a 1-16, 0-17 football team, why should ownership or any of these fans trust you? They shouldn't. If they do, what have they done that's proven that they can win games? Like, these are guys that when I'm sitting here right now, it's not just the way that this team is playing. The way that they handled the end of the half, like, you want to see improvement from coaches. Aaron Glenn, we should have thrown a Hail Mary. We should have done something. He had the same exact scenario. Actually, it was a little different because at least last week, the excuse was, we were getting the ball back. And many people summarized at the time, it's because he doesn't trust Fields. He's going to go to Taylor to start the half, which didn't happen. But now I look at it and I sit here and I'm watching this game with a timeout in their pocket. I'm like, they're not even going to try one more play to get in field goal range. They're not even going to. That's the thing. It's one thing to be bad, but not to try. And if your quarterback is that bad that you don't trust him, because to me, the play calling was laying day. It is clear that they did not trust it. Tanner Engstrom did not trust Justin Fields to run his offense. Because all of a sudden, we haven't seen trick plays all season. Tyrod Taylor gets in there, they try a trick play. All of a sudden, they're pushing the ball down the field. All of a sudden, they're moving the ball down the field. With Justin Fields, it just felt so difficult and hard to move the football down the field. It's today's NFL, like, it's designed for offense. It's designed for scoring. It's designed for fantasy football. And the Jets go 2 consecutive weeks. 2 consecutive weeks without touchdown. And for the second consecutive week, they let the half end without attempting a Hail Mary. This is what is alarming. And these are big questions that Woody's going to have, because if you, again, you look at this team, like, every game, they are not just out-schemed. They are outmatched. They are outclassed. They are out-coached. It is just horrific. And you have some of the most positive former Jets. The Damian Woody tweeted this. This is a dark, dark place for the Jets franchise, and that's saying something. I mean, it is getting horrendous. And again, Woody listens on social media, but you now go a second consecutive week where this team didn't even try a Hail Mary. Here's why you try a Hail Mary. It's not just because you want to try a play, but a lot can happen on a Hail Mary. Here's some scenarios, because again, the Jets, all of a sudden, the referees are actually being seemingly fair with the Jets. Here's a scenario for you. They throw a Hail Mary, but Justin Fields gets walloped in the backfield on the throw, 15-yard penalty. Guess what? Untimed down, you're in field goal range. Oh, pass interference, defensive holding. Like, it's not just the fact that you're not attempting the play to try to score, but the fact that you could potentially get a penalty for an untimed down that automatically puts you in field goal range to get a field goal. To get this to be, if you score a touchdown, you would take the lead. Like, this is absolutely horrendous. This is absolutely despicable. Like, I just cannot believe how bad this team looks. And I'm getting the opinion, like, we're going to see Brady Cook at some point this year. Like, and I said this in the draft too. One of the things I thought the Jets should have done, especially because they traded all those day 5 picks, for one including trading up for Tyler Barron, which now looks like a genius decision. But I just sit here and I look at this and said, okay, let's say they took a Cam Miller or a Kyle McCoy or someone on day 3 with the 5th round, because you had a lot of quarterbacks going the 6th round. As bad as this is, if this team could go out let's say they drafted a quarterback on day 3 and they come out the last 6 games. And maybe that backup quarterback isn't great, but at least he looks serviceable. They're able to put him in good positions. You can maybe sell this fan base and this ownership. Hey, we at least are putting ourselves in position. At least we are showing that we know how to handle a young quarterback. But with this staff, it doesn't seem like you really trust them. Justin Fields asked about the Jets not scoring an offensive touchdown. How do I explain it? We didn't get in the end zone. There's a lot. I don't mean to rude, but there's no explanation, to be honest with you. Tyrod Taylor, overall, we're not finishing well when talking about the Jets offense. Justin Fields have asked if his benching was warranted. It's not my decision. I'm here to be the best teammate I can be. I'm here to be the best person. So at least he took that somewhat well. Tyrod Taylor, I try to do my job. Obviously, turnovers not going to get a job. Aaron Glenn on the decision on who will start quarterback. I'll make that call. There are a lot of conversations I have to have with myself. Well, maybe you should also have a conversation with your offense because it seems like they played a lot better with him out there. And look, I guess the effort is still there. At least the defense showed up again. But even with this defense, as well as they played, they didn't force a turnover again. This defense only 1 sack, 2 sacks. Sherwood had that late one. Sorry, I took that out of my notes. But it's funny because Aaron Glenn, who's running this show, it seems like the guy that's been too embarrassed, Darren Muji. Like his trades have looked really good the last couple. But Justin Fields, I'm being removed. I can't be mad at the decision, and I understand. Well, he's been horrific. I mean, he had arguably one of the historically worst starts in NFL history last week. It is just so freaking frustrating. Some more of your questions. Super chat, jump to the front of the line. This franchise has been the worst. I mean, you can't argue it. They've been horrendous. Let's remember that Mike LaFleur was scapegoated for quarterback play that wasn't as bad as this. I mean, you're right. It's bad. It's as bad as it can be. Let's see. Jets are such a backwards organization. Orlando C sounds like he went to the game. Tickets are only $35. It is funny. My friend actually went to the game today, and I was texting throughout this game. He actually got to do the siren, so at least he had a good reason to go to the game. He did the air raid siren. But I asked him because I was curious, and it was funny because I actually went to a hockey game with him earlier this week. And we're big Jet fans. We had a lot of conversations. We were going back and forth and debating about this team and and I asked him honestly, I'm like, what do you think the stadium's going to look like? Because at least with the Cowboys and Steelers, I know those fans travel well, but I'm like the Panthers, it's like, I made a prediction. I'm like, is it going to be half full? And I text him today. I'm like, hey, what's the stadium like? He's like, well, the lower bowl's full. And I'm like, so it's about half capacity. He's like, yeah. And again, like, I think that's going to speak volumes too, because it's one thing when this team, because I look at the schedule going forward, like some of the AFC East teams I think will travel, but I don't see other teams like big fan bases coming to MetLife. And if we're in November and there's like 20,000 people in the seats, like this also too, like think about it. This is probably one of the last really nice days at MetLife. This is another beautiful, like the weather's been gorgeous this year at MetLife, weirdly enough. Like, I just think you're going to see Jet fans, like, they're tuning out. And I don't blame them. I get the frustration. I mean, basically, I come on here and offer you Jets therapy every week. I guess that's my goal. I'm the, residential Jets therapist. Christian, I can never say they find new ways, so I'm not quite sure yet. That might be. JW, you should never let the 33 team advice to hire anyone again. Look, here's my thing, and again, I see where JW's frustration is. And the thing, too, is Aaron Glenn, like Tony, you bring up a good point. When you move on from Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think, again, I know Aaron likes to, he likes to be the victim a little bit. I'm not exactly sure what happened in that meeting. Again, I know the thing, he flew across the country. He's already out here, so I don't think that was that big of a deal. But when you puff out your fan, when you basically make that decision that we don't want Aaron Rodgers back, and again, there is a strong portion of the fan base that want it back, and I get it because he gave you the best chance to be successful this year. I understand where you are coming from. But then you puff out your chest and say, I'm going to be the guy that takes Justin Fields. I'm not going to draft a quarterback. And look, I don't think this was a great draft class for quarterback, but the thing that concerned me with this process was, and I understand a lot of the scouts were still Joe Douglas's. I understand that they have a lot of turnover, but the fact that they didn't really interview a lot of these guys really concerned me. And the fact that they just didn't take a guy on day 3, it's just... I'll give a like to do anyone taking the time to speak on this tragedy. Gregory Winter, thank you so much. Again, like, subscribe, give us a super chat to donate to the channel to make more great content and to jump to the front of the line. And look, I'll talk to anyone, Gregory, answer your questions. And I do love the Madison Square Garden cover. That's a really good picture right there. I love that thumbnail. That's a really good one. Glenn never finds solution because he falls asleep talking to himself. All right. Danger Zone is in the building. Again, he has a great show on Friday nights. Go sure to check him out as well. He actually had, it was funny. We alternated Dom C. I had him Thursday night and he had him for Friday. So again, like a lot of us, we're talking about quarterbacks, and it's a very important thing to talk about this time of year. So give him a like, subscribe, go check him out. We do stink. I think there's a 4-letter word that describes us a little bit better, but I don't want to get demonetized, so I'm not going to say it. Yeah, look, the idea of Fields was, here's my thing with Fields. I get the decision. He was a lottery ticket. You're kind of hoping that you had that turnaround that everyone else, that we've seen with other quarterbacks across the league. I don't hate that idea. What irks me 14 years is that they didn't draft another quarterback. And again, I'm not saying you had to draft a quarterback on day 1 or 2. But to not take a flyer on day 3, just so you had like a break glass in case of emergency, at least add some intrigue for us as a fan base. And also show that you can work with a young quarterback. Because hypothetical, Cam Miller, North Dakota State was someone they did a lot of work on. If we had Cam Miller, let's say, start the last 6 games. Again, we're probably going to have Let Brady Cook t-shirts soon anyways, but I'll let you know if we make those for the channel. But if you had him, let's say start the last 6 games, but you came out and saying, you know what, he looks like he's a serviceable backup. He doesn't look overwhelmed. The team put him in good positions. You could at least make some of a case like, okay, this staff knows how to handle a young quarterback. When I look at this right now, with Aaron Glenn, not understanding that he had to go to Tyrod Taylor last week and then sticking up for Justin Fields and then once again just going down with the ship, it's just frustrating. Yeah, like Tony, I agree with you. I'll get to I just get the points early in the game. Late in the game, fine. For early in the game, go. I'll do another hot take, Danger Zone. I think that if Tyrod comes in London and stays and starts this game, I think the Jets are a 2-5 football team. And this is the problem that I think Aaron Glenn got himself into, and I said this last week. If Aaron Glenn made the decision to go to Tyrod and they won, we would be praising him that he understood the flow of the game. He saw that the team was losing, and he basically did what he's been preaching. All gas, no brakes. We're going to make sure that we are going to win games, that we are going to close games, and I'm going to do what is right for my players. Because let me put this out there too. Because Aaron Glenn, you said you're going to have a conversation with yourself about the quarterback position. Well, I have another one for you. If you're a defensive player, because again, Aaron, you're a great defensive player. You had a great career in the National Football League. We cannot take that away from you. If you were playing for a team and you were doing everything you could on your defense, you were busting your butt, you basically were making plays, you were doing everything to give this offense just to be functional, and you win football games and they can't, how would you feel as a defensive player? Because I'm telling you, a lot of those defensive players are probably rolling their eyes like, oh, I've been here before. We do everything right. We keep this a low-scoring game, and our offense can't score. You don't think Quinnen's thinking that tonight? You don't think Sauce is thinking that tonight? You don't think Jermaine's thinking that after this game? Like, you got to be kidding me. We've done this how many times now? How many versions have we seen this play out? And again, I'm not asking the Jets to be a good offense. I'm just asking them to be serviceable. Score 16 points. They haven't scored a touchdown in 2 weeks. They haven't scored a touchdown in 8 quarters. They haven't scored a touchdown in the first half of a ball game since the first week of the season. It's just so incredible. Aaron Glenn is destroying his reputation as Jets legend. He'll be known as the worst New York. I mean, if you go 0-17, there's not much arguing. And this is the thing that I worried about with Aaron Glenn. Because with Aaron Glenn, and again, Super Chat jumped to the front of the line. I'm trying to catch up with some of your comments here. Again, you guys have some great question. The problem I look at with Aaron Glenn is he's a first-time head coach. There's going to be a learning curve. But when I look at how he is handling certain situations, I am terrified. Like, I'm just terrified. I'm like, I haven't seen him get better. He said last week, I should have thrown a Hail Mary at Dan. Guess what? He had the same exact scenario again, and he botched that. Like, I need to see you learn from a mistake. Like, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you don't learn, that's the definition of insanity, ladies and gentlemen. And the thing is, when you puff out your chest and say, we're going to be competitive, we are going to, we're not going to make noise in the offseason, we're going to compete, we're going to be a hard-nosed team. The Jets every week have been out-coached, outmanned. They just look overwhelmed week after week after week. Like, they don't look – I mean, the Panthers are a better football team this year, but they're not a world-beating football team. They also had Andy Dalton back there for the last half of this game because Bryce Young got hurt. So the Jets couldn't win this game. And the thing that really concerns me is this. You gave Justin Fields $30 million in guarantee. You made that decision, and he looks so – like, we're not just talking bad. We're talking historically bad, like in the annals, and I mean the annals of Jets' terrible quarterback play. Like, I brought up last week, the 2 worst Zach Wilson games were better than the Justin Fields game. You can make a case even this half. The Zach Wilson games against Jacksonville and against New England, which we thought couldn't lower the bar of quarterbacking football in the National Football League, somehow gets worse. It somehow gets worse. And I mean, I think, Keka Jet fan, at this point, you just don't feel anything. And that's the worst. Like, there's just apathy. It's just apathetic right now. We need a QB2 now because I'm over Fields. I don't want him. We're 1 rib away. Look, the problem is, Danger Zone, where are you getting a quarterback? You're not training for one right now. I mean, there's no like Joe Flacco, who basically the Bengals just gave away. I mean, I don't even know like who's even a free agent for a quarterback right now. There just isn't a number 2 there just isn't a quarterback, and I'm not trading assets to get a quarterback right now. I'm just not. I think we all did. Again, we wanted this to work. The story idea of Glenn working was a great one, especially with this franchise. But unfortunately, it's not working. And look, Liam Cohen also was an offensive coach. And this is why I worry about defensive coaches. And I think this is very prevalent. People just say, it's an offensive league. It's an offensive league. I think that this is my opinion about head coaches. And if you disagree with me, you can tell me you disagree with this take. But here is, and again, I go get Mike White. I'm for it, Danger Zone. I am. Here's what I think about coaching. When I looked at this offseason, I said I wanted a guy with experience because this was going to be tough. And my number 1 choice was Brian Flores. And again, I understand it's weird with the suing, but hates the Dolphins. I thought would have been a fiery coach and wouldn't have to deal with it. Here's the thing, and I was thinking about this the other day. Why do offensive coaches tend to work? And everyone's going to say, well, it's obvious. It's the scoring. It's a quarterback league. And if you get the quarterback and coach right, that's why it works. But then I really dived into it. And I think that this is a very important reason why I think offensive coaches have an easier time becoming head coaching. What is offense compared to defense? Offense is preparation. Defense is reactionary. Offense, you're going, again, both sides of the ball prepare, both sides watch film, but offense dictates the pace of the game. The defense will react to what the offense is showing. The defense will react to what the offense is running. But offensive and especially offensive coordinators, they have to plan. They have to strategize. They have to build a game plan. They have to be thinking outside the box. Defense, it's a little bit different. You're looking at effort. You're looking at just flying around without abandon. You are looking to react to what the offense is doing. And when I look at Aaron Glenn right now, it feels like he is someone that is reacting. He is not being proactive. He is being reactive. But again, that's defensive in nature. And when you think about a defensive player and a defensive coach, it makes sense. Like Liam Cohen is building game plans for Trevor Lawrence. He has the foresight to see what he needs to do. And right now, I just see Aaron Glenn reacting to what the media is asking him, reacting to what is happening. He's not necessarily being proactive. So that is why I think when you hire these defensive coaches and why a lot of them struggle is they're used to just reacting. They're not used to controlling the tempo of the game. They're not making the big decisions on offense. And I think that's very important with young quarterbacks too, because you can see how they're in the ebb and flow of the game. Like sometimes with a defensive player, if they're struggling, you just got to keep throwing them out there, get their reps, and they'll just catch up. But with offense, some guys just don't have it. I think offensive players can see that more. And if it comes to this, again, I say no more first-time head coaches. Like they've tried this defensive side of the football, first-time head coach. It doesn't work. And Aaron Glenn just seems like a nice guy, but he just looks overwhelmed. He just looks completely overwhelmed. And like, stop saying where the lines. Like, are the Jets training for Jared Goff? Like, where's that coming from? They had a quarterback they could build around. Jets don't have one right now. The Jets are going to have a rookie quarterback. One of the reasons the Lions was accelerated is because they didn't just get a good quarterback. They got a quarterback that had been to a Super Bowl and had experience in this league and was a former first-round pick. Like, he was someone that was successful. It was just that his head coach liked another quarterback a little bit better and thought he could get more out of it. And look, he ultimately did. He won a Super Bowl. But guess what? Jared Goff's been pretty darn good in Detroit. You know, I also think defensive coaches are too conservative and stifle offensive production because they fear. Yeah, they react. Again, fear is a reaction. They're reacting to what could potentially bad happen. Just like think about the end of the first half. He's not thinking about offense. Oh, we can draw a penalty. We can draw a penalty here. We could fake them out. Get like too many men on the field on defense. We could get them lining up offside. Like you think of those scenarios. Defense, it's like. Yeah, I just don't want to give him a ball back. Yeah, I just don't, our defense will figure it out. Well, it is just so freaking frustrating. It is just so frustrating. And look, that the other thing too is like, you got to stop. I just want to give it to someone that can run a football operation. It's just so frustrating because I just don't think this team, I don't think they have the right coach. I really don't at this point. And every week I try to look for things where I'm like, Breece Hall and remain positive. It's hard. We've been in it for almost 4 years now in this organization. And the other thing too is, and I'll get to more of this in my trade deadline show, which will come up this week. I think the Jets will not be as aggressive as the deadline as I think some people are hoping. I think there's a couple reasons for that. I think number one, Woody might just step in and say, you know what, guys, I'm not letting you make any big deals. Don't forget he did this with Joe Douglas. And again, it turned out that they couldn't sign Bryce Huff, but he got to the point where he's like, I'm not sure if I'm bringing you back. So why should I entrust you to write checks at this point or make trades that could hurt the organization? And the other thing too is, I think this is also important. Darren Muji, this Jet organization, like they understand the fan base is pissed. They understand that this is ugly. And when you have the national media already debating, I saw it's not just here in New York and following the Jets anymore. You heard it all over ESPN, all over Sirius this week. People debating, should Aaron Glenn be a one-and-done head coach? Now you still have another loss. There's another notch on that belt in the L department. Do you think Aaron Glenn's kind of going to look at it and say, if I trade Breece Hall, if I trade good players, I can't come back at the end of the season. You go, well, I didn't have those players for a stretch run, and we finished 1-16. If you finish with the number one pick, as bad as the Jets are, and as bad as the organization has been, it's a lot better if you want to try to get a head coach and he gets to pick the quarterback and what's seeming to be a decent quarterback draft if you have the number one overall pick. So I just look at this and go, I don't think the Jets are going to be super aggressive. I doubt Breece Hall gets traded because I don't think a team's going to overwhelm you at the deadline. The couple pieces I could see getting moved, number one, I think is Quincy. Quincy to me makes sense for a couple of reasons. Number one, they've already invested in Sherwood, and I give Sherwood a lot of credit. He looks a lot more comfortable. He's played a lot better the last 2 weeks. They've already made him the investment. It seems like they like what Kiko's doing on the field. I think Quincy, again, is someone that makes a lot of sense to trade. And, oh, by the way, Robert Saleh lost Fred Warner for the entire season. Like, I would try to get try to do day 3, like a round 3 pick for Quincy, but throw in a day 3 pick because the Jets already have, I think, 6. They're going to have 8 with the compensation. And I do like a play him in one. Like, hey, if he plays X amount, this 6th rounder becomes a 5th rounder just to go up, or maybe you get like a high 4th rounder so you can trade back into round 3 because the Jets don't have a 3rd round pick because of the Hassan Reddick trade. The other one I think too is Michael Carter. Because Michael Carter, he doesn't fit this defense. Brownlee looks a lot better in his position. I think you want to get that money off the book. If you get a day 3 pick for him, I'd do it. The other one's Alan Lazard. And it's just like out of guilt, like, hey, if we give you Lazard in a 7 Pittsburgh, will you give us a 6? Like that's what I'm expecting. And look, the Jets, like they're going backwards. Like they are going in the wrong direction. I mean, just look at these team stats. The Jets today, only 220 yards of offense, 139 passing yards, 81 rushing yards, 12 first downs in the entire game. Surprisingly, 7-15 on 3rd down. Allowed 6 sacks today. Panthers coming in today only had 6 sacks in the first 6 games of the season. Time of possession, 24 minutes, 55 seconds. The Jets offense, again, has not scored a touchdown now in 8 quarters. Like, they are reinventing the ways with frustrating football. And again, with Breece Hall, I will not be shocked if Breece Hall just comes out and says, you know what, just trade me. Just trade me. Like, again, you could just see, like, it's hard. We've been going through this for years now in this organization. You feel it from fans. You feel it from around the building. You feel it everywhere. You feel it as soon as you leave. End of the day, we have something to play for, whether it's family. Like, he basically, I think he's just – and look, I mean, I got to give credit to Steve Wilkes. I mean, we were running him out of town 2 weeks ago, and he's had 2 back-to-back games. I mean, this defense went from 31 points to 13 points the last 2 weeks. The passing yards have gone down by nearly 30 yards. The rushing yards have gone down by nearly 40 yards. I'll give the defense credit. They've looked good. Like, Steve Wilkes has done something where you're like, they actually look pretty good. Jets, 2nd team in the last decade to hold back-to-back opponents to 13 or fewer points and lose both games. The other time was in 2023, the Patriots, and they were terrible. It is just so frustrating. And again, you saw the difference out there. The play calling was different with Tyrod Taylor. The ability to avoid sacks, it's frustrating. Jermaine Johnson laying it all out there, man. Something got to give. You know, it's frustrating. John Simpson, we got to be better and start to me. Yeah, John Simpson was horrendous today. The stupid penalty he had today, didn't pick up a couple blitzes up the middle. Just so freaking frustrating. And look, this fan base deserves so much more. I mean, it's just so frustrating because we put our heart, our soul into this team. And again, I feel bad if you're joining us driving home from MetLife, or you're listening to us on the podcast days after. I mean, it's an investment. We put such an investment into this team, and you just don't feel like you get anything out of it. And look, like, if we get the number 1 pick or number 2 pick, we'll get excited. We'll talk about the quarterback position. We'll talk about them having hope, because again, like we know the answer to this riddle, which is if you don't have a quarterback in the NFL, it is so freaking hard. It is so freaking hard to compete. They obviously shut him down mid-game. No, they had him back out there at times too. The thing is, like, Connor Hughes brought up a really good point, and I think Connor, because Connor has a lot of connections. He talked about the trade line. He said, "Look, I was talking around the league. You might get a fourth." And when it's like, can you get a third? No. The problem is Breece Hall, like, let's say what it is. Breece Hall is a running back that's had a major injury concerns. He's someone that doesn't have the production you would expect from someone like him. And again, if he goes to a right situation, you expect him to succeed. And he's also in the last year of his contract. He's going to want a new deal. So if you're going to trade for him, you're either going to pay him or you're going to use him basically as a rental and let him go at the end of the season. So I you know, and it's funny because, Tony, I think as much as we've given Muji, it feels like Muji's doing his job better than Aaron Glenn. It's frustrating. Danger Zone, that could be a possibility. The thing I've been thinking about, though, is what team would do that. The team that jumps to the front for me, just because they've had so many injuries at the position, is the Chargers. And again, we know how much they value the running back position. I could see that being a thing. But the thing with the Breece injury, too, and I'm glad you brought this up, Kev, and I actually forgot to mention this, and I think it's a good point because I talked about how the end of that half went. The thing is, too, and this is why I also think Aaron Glenn, if you ever needed Aaron Glenn, this coaching staff, to tell you how they felt about Justin Fields, the Jets start with 1:05 or 1:06 left and say have all their timeouts at about the 35-yard line. You have to get 2 first downs and you're in field goal range. The first play is a run to Breece and he gets hurt. It was so frustrating, the sequence. Like, you're at the point now where you do not trust your quarterback to get yards. And was he nicked up because they only did a couple design runs? Like, if you want to do a design quarterback run on first down, that's one thing. But just to run it up the middle with Breece Hall, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, take a shot. Like, the thing about the passing game, too, it does a couple of things. It opens up running lanes. But here's the other thing. Maybe you draw a penalty. Maybe you get 15 yards or 10 yards, and it makes your job that much easier, and then you can run. Like, the play calling is just mind. I'm like, Tanner Engstrom, the difference between, what they did in the first half and the play call in the second half, like, they did trick plays. They threw the ball down the field. They weren't just doing easy crossers. Like, he opened it up because he's like, you know what? I have a quarterback that can make these throws. Where before it's like, I don't trust Justin Fields to make these throws. It's just so frustrating, man. Glenn took a team that didn't need rebuilding and drove it into a tree. Oh, they need a lot of things. I don't know if it's religion, holy water. They need something. Can't give the defense too much credit. Team know they can play against every still. They still did a good job. They kept this game close, but you're right. Teams aren't afraid of the Jets offense. They don't respect this Jets offense. Even the Panthers, the announcers are getting annoyed with the Panthers saying, why aren't you doing cover over the top, being prevent defense? They were playing man-to-man, blitzing with a lead, not being conservative. They are like, screw it. Until the Jets beat us down the field, we're going to keep doing it. And guess what? They couldn't do anything about it. The Blue run that Jets score early and play conservative Jets. And look, it's been the same way. When was the most success the Jets had this season? It was week 1, when no one has tape on you. The second after week 1, everyone got the tape. You know what's happened since week 1? The Jets haven't scored a touchdown in the first half of games. They haven't scored a touchdown in the first half of football games. That's the truth. It sucks. It hurts, but Muji's the guy that didn't get wide receiver. I'm not giving him a pass. I'm just saying he's doing his job better than Glenn, which isn't saying much. Yeah, but here's the thing, though, Kevin. If Aaron Glenn goes, Muji's going too. Muji's the guy Glenn picked. If it's a one-and-done season, everyone's going. I don't know. Do they design plays with Fields in mind, I guess, now as like a hybrid running back? I don't know at this point. And it's funny because I just look at this team and I just look at how they just look so overwhelmed. And even today, like, it's just painful watching. Like, the trick plays worked. And Tyrod Taylor underthrows 2 touchdown passes. It's just so infuriating, you know. And look, when you look at it, 6 of the last quarterbacks drafted number 1 overall saw their head coach get fired in their rookie year. I mean, that's the thing, too. Do we want to waste a year of a rookie quarterback with Glenn? Like, do we want to get to the November next year? Like, okay, he's not the guy now. Okay, this young quarterback, now we have to get a new coach and a new system. Now they're going to have to learn. And then if they have struggles in year 2, is it going to be, oh, well, is it because of the new system? Is it because he's just falling behind? It's just frustrating. And look, you look, just the accountability, like, Aaron Glenn preached accountability. I know the quarterback position is different than any other position in football. But this could be a world, and this is how little things can change and perception can change on a dime. I said it earlier. Let's play this hypothetical. He makes the move to Tyrod and Lennon. They win that game. And like I said to start the show, I think Tyrod Taylor plays this whole game. They win. Because the offense was moving a lot better with him, and the players seemingly played a lot better. And give Tyrod Taylor a scenario where he's not playing from a 5 and forced to push the ball down the field. If they made the route to Tyrod Taylor, and the Jets are sitting here at 2-5, even in a lost season, even in a season which is still going sideways, I think we could at least sit here and go, you know what? We still have questions about Aaron Glenn. But you know what we've seen in 2 weeks? The defense looks a whole lot better. The defense is looking like it should have been looking since week 1. And give Glenn credit. He said he would hold guys accountable. He held his guys accountable. He made the move to go to a quarterback. He understood the team needed that move. He was going to lose the locker room. And now they've gone 2-5. They've won a couple games in a row. They have something to build off of. They are going in now to the Bengals with a chance to, with some momentum. Maybe they pick them off. They're 3-5. And again, not a playoff season, but we're at the midway point of season going, you know what? This team's won a couple games. You know what? This team, they're showing some fight. They're showing progression. But instead, we're sitting here at the end of week 7, winless, not knowing who the quarterback's going to be in week 8. And I know every Jet fan has done it. You've looked at the schedule. You've gone through this upcoming schedule, and you're trying to figure out where they're going to get a win. And even if they get a win, if this team finishes with 16 losses, I don't see how people are coming back. I don't. Like, I'm just looking at the schedule for the Jets. Like, where are they getting the win? The one game I might think is home against Miami, just because Miami's so bad and McDaniel might be gone at that point. But I'm serious. Like, is it at the Bengals? He'll look a lot better with the ghost of Joe Flacco. I mean, Cleveland's going to have a rookie quarterback, but that defense, how are the Jets going to move the ball against that defense? At New England in primetime? No. At Baltimore? Like, the way New England and Baltimore is playing, like, if this defense regresses or looks anything like they did early in the season, I mean, it's either going to be 1 or 2 games. Either the Jets are going to get rolled out of the building by 30 or 40 points, or the offense is going to look so anemic. Then you got the Falcons, the Dolphins, which I was saying early December at home, at Jaguars. I mean, they're going to be playing for a playoff spot. I mean, at the Saints, maybe. Although the Saints look a lot better coached than the Jets. And maybe the Bills in week 18 because they've wrapped everything up and they're just basically sitting everything. I just don't see where that wins. I really don't. And that's why I think adds to the frustration when you watch this team. Again, Super Chat, jump to the front of the line. Abby Fresh is here. Again, loving the Christine picture as well. Yeah, mood. They have to have a conversation. It's bad. Yeah, teams going to want to pack their stats. I mean, even the Ravens, as bad as their defense, I just don't see it. Quit at the end of the season. Glenn's not going to quit. Are you kidding me? Glenn's is going to go down with the ship. I mean, I said last week, it felt like with Justin Fields, like they are going down. He was going down with the ship, basically. It's just so freaking frustrating. I mean, this Jet team, it's just so frustrating. And look, you're watching right now, Giants again ahead of the Broncos. Again, I don't think the Broncos are that great of a team, but I mean, look, I just look at you have to have conversations like, you miss on Jackson Dart a little bit? Like, you have to have these awkward conversations. And you just look right now around the Jets, like, what do they do well? I mean, it's unacceptable for a team with this much talent to be 0-7. It really is. The Jets, every week, it feels like they don't have a tactical advantage. Even if they're not a more talented, I don't think the Panthers are an overly talented football team. But every week, whether it's on offense or defense or sometimes both, they are out-coached. They are out-schemed. Like, this offense could not move the football today. And against the Panthers defense, that's not great. They had 6 sacks in 6 weeks. They had 6 sacks today. It's just so freaking frustrating. Because week after week, and again, I might take next week off because I'm going to be on vacation next Sunday, to be honest with you. But I'll cover this team. Brian Costello. Costello's loving this. Brady Cook next week. I think it's going to be telling. I'm curious to see what the Jets' depth chart is. Like, is Brady Cook elevated number 2? I mean, there's a chance. Aaron Glenn's reasoning, guys. We have the reasoning why he didn't go for the Hail Marys. Buckle up. Why not try a Hail Mary today, Aaron Glenn? That was a situation we just had 2 sacks. Let's get out of it. Get into halftime and get ready to play the next half. Okay, Aaron. Well, a couple things with that. Number 1, that's a loser mentality. Number 2, you're not even trying. So basically you're telling your fan base, we don't care. We're just going to go to half. That's a loser mentality. You came in here saying you want to change the culture. That is such a Jetsian culture. Oh, we'll just play to not get embarrassed. Okay. You're not even – you made the decision to go with this quarterback who's getting sacked. You made the decision to run the ball in the first play in a 2-minute drill, which I've never seen. It's just the coaching and the answering. It's just such a disconnect. I'm just – like, if you can't even get – you got ripped last week for the same thing and you didn't even try. But here's the difference. And this is why this is worse. Last week, you had it somewhat. And again, there's not a good excuse for this. But the Jets, at least last week, were getting the ball back. And my thought was during the half, okay, maybe he's just fed up with Fields and they're going to go to Tyrod. They don't want anything else to happen. And they're going to let Tyrod come right in. Here was the difference. And this is a big one, Aaron. You didn't get the ball back. It was the Panthers. And again, the Panthers only got a field goal, but they took nearly 6 or 7 minutes off the clock. So now you have your quarterback coming in with an even bigger deficit and is forced to push the ball down. So, yeah, that would have made a big difference. Maybe you get a pass interference, kick a field goal, and this is a closer game. According to Glenn, Sauce has a concussion, so I'm guessing he will be questionable for next week. But we will see, and we'll update throughout the week as well when we get that. But it is just so frustrating because this fan base, man, they deserve so much more. Like, the fact to now see the Patriots, and I hate Patriot fans, but to see Patriot fans saying, we had it so hard for the couple of years, you don't understand. Like, you went from a Hall of Fame quarterback with one of the greatest runs in NFL history, and you had a couple meek years, and now you seemingly have your quarterback and your coach. Like, the fact that the Jets cannot figure this out is just so frustrating as a fan of this team. I'm looking, like, Drake May is 6 of 17 for nearly 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Justin Fields can barely complete a swing pass. It is just so frustrating. And I'll tell you this, and it's frustrating because this rookie class is showing some potential. It's frustrating because you're getting sick of the losing. But it is just so freaking frustrating to watch this team, like just the way they are losing and just what this coaching staff is doing over and over and over again. It is just so freaking frustrating. And again, now you just look at it too, where you look at if Jarrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner might not be playing next week against the Bengals. That's great. Sell down. That's a pretty good one. It's on 4th down. Glenn should have kicked the field goal. When will this dummy learn? There's losing, and then there's this. It's just the little things, and just the fact that this coaching staff is not learning. The fact that, again, we understand there's going to be errors. There's going to be growing pains. But when you keep making the same mistakes and you keep doing the same things over and over and over again, and it just doesn't get better, like, I'm serious. Like, if this team is 0-17 or 1-16 or even 2-15, they have to have a serious conversation, especially if you end up with one of the top 2 picks. Because how you develop that quarterback is key. And if you feel any question, like, this is my thing. If you have any doubt that this regime can develop the next quarterback, then you have to move on. You cannot have any doubts. And you look like this team, there's just so much frustrating. You know, it's like, I just look at this team too. Like, Jets have been held under 10 points the first half for the 6th straight game. That's the longest streak in the NFL and tied for the 2nd longest streak of the past 5 years. Their offense, that tells you they don't come out with a good game plan. It tells you they don't come out with a good script. It's just so, you know, like, you're right. 14 years, and sorry as I hit the mic for the people listening on the podcast. There's losing, then there's this. And that's the thing. The Jets aren't just losing. They are embarrassing themselves. And that's why I think when we mention the one and done, and while people will look at this and go, well, it's a long shot. And again, I still think there's a chance that Aaron Glenn can have a good streak down the end. But the other thing too, which this fan base is worried about, and I understand because we've been through so many different versions of the same HE double hockey sticks, is we saw with Adam Gase. We all knew Adam Gase wasn't going to work. They finished down that stretch 6-2, and it was basically, you know, it was a mirage, because what happened then is next year they bottomed out. It's just, you know, it's just so frustrating with Aaron Glenn, because you also thought too, this team would be more buttoned up. This team would be in better situations. This team would be like a smarter football team. They're not. They just aren't. You know, I think Lazard, that's a decent shot too. I am curious where Brees goes. You know, it's, and again too, like, I'm going to look it up, but like, how many times when a team finishes with the worst record in NFL does the coach come back, even if it's the first year? And look, I will say this, like, people want to give Woody Johnson a lot of grief, but I'll tell you this, like, he basically gave, I think, Robert Saleh way too much time. And look, you want to talk about like pulling the trigger? The Houston Texans fired 3 coaches 3 years in a row. They went through coach after coach after coach until they got DeMeco Ryans. So sometimes it doesn't matter necessarily how long you give a coach time. You can see when stuff isn't working. And to this point, it's not working. And I am very concerned about him losing the locker room, because now you look at back-to-back games where, like I played it out, if Tyrod Taylor came in the half against the Broncos, they win that game, he starts this game, they win this game. It's a lot different if we're talking about a 2-5 football team that is building off of something. And instead, we're sitting here at 0-7 thinking about second-guessing every coach in decision. We gave him, and again, if you are clamoring that you want Aaron Glenn back for a second season, it just means you're a huge fan of the guy. And I understand it. But when I look at what is happening, and again, we keep saying over and over again, don't talk about practice, don't use the same old Jets quote, and don't talk about Detroit. What do you do at this press conference today? One of the first things he mentions is, well, we're having great practices. Jet fans could care less. The Jets have the best record in practice, ladies and gentlemen, of any team in the NFL history. I just want to let you know. Fans don't want to hear the same old Jets thing until you see a change. And fans don't want you to talk about Detroit because Detroit was different. Detroit, again, was a different situation. Did this team draft Amon St. Brown in the 4th round? No, they drafted Aaron Smith, who dropped a touchdown today. Did this team trade for Jared Goff, who was a former quarterback in a Super Bowl and a former top 5 pick, to be their quarterback? They don't have that. So, stop mentioning the Lions. Jet fans don't want to. Jet fans at this point, I'll make it very simple, stupidly simple. Win football games. Win football games and don't be embarrassing. It's very simple. But the problem is the Jets can't win football games and they keep embarrassing themselves on a weekly basis. And you look, it took Glenn all this time. And again, they're doing they're getting more man out there, but they're still going his own. It took them basically 5 weeks to fix this defense. But I'm just looking at it because I just look at how this team is. I look at the questions we had. What were our concerns? Defensive end depth. That's been a concern. Wide receiver depth and talent. That's been a concern. I even said, too, one thing that keeps annoying the you-know-what out of me is this. They made such a big deal about getting Jelani Woods. And I look at this wide receiver room, which I think is terrible. You have Stone Smart, who has shown the ability he can stretch the field as a tight end. You have Jelani Woods, who's a big 6'7" tight end. This receiving room is toast. Let's call it what it is. It is toast. Outside Tyler Johnson, this wide receiver room, it's not great. It's not good. So if this wide receiver room isn't good, why isn't this team using their tight ends as wide receivers at this point? I'm flabbergasted. I keep putting out this stuff, and this is the thing. If I, a content creator who, again, has played football in my life, but has never coached football, and I feel like I'm coming up with better designs, better play schemes, I'm coming up with better ideas for the offense than the guys that are getting paid millions of dollars to run this football team. Tyler Johnson, again, had a nice game. Josh Reynolds, fine, but I'm looking at the tight ends. Mason Taylor, 3 catches, 31 yards. Jeremy Rucker had 1 target. Why is Stone Smart not getting targets? We saw him in the preseason, was able to get open, has a bit of burst. I'll tell you one thing, the wide receiver room doesn't have burst outside of Aaron Smith. And again, they tried getting some deep shots finally, but it only took, till week 7 to try that? You have to use the ingredients that you have to make the product on the field. And a lot of the problem is you can't blame the ingredients too, because you could have gone out and signed a veteran receiver. You could have gone out and in the draft and drafted a receiver earlier, but you didn't. You made these decisions. You made the decision to keep Michael Clemens and not upgrade the defensive end position. You made the decision not to address the safety position outside drafting Malachi Moore. You made those decisions. Now you have to live with them, and you can't complain because you put yourself in this position. And look, Tyler, the thing too is Glenn has talent on this roster. Detroit had nothing when they first started. You look, this offensive line is not this bad. It's just the quarterback play does not help them. They have a talented running back. They had a talented number 1 receiver until he got hurt. They have a good defense. It comes down to this. I said this before the season, and I still think it holds true, even with Justin Fields and the warts in his game. I said this. I said, I feel that the Jets could be a team that is fighting for a playoff spot in the final 3 or 4 weeks of the season if this coaching staff is average. Even if they were 16 to 20th in this league. Because I thought the coaching staff last year was the worst in the National Football League, cumulatively. I said, Aaron Glenn doesn't have to be an elite head coach. He doesn't have to be a great head coach. I said, can he just be slightly average? Can he just be okay? And the problem is, it feels like it's worse. It feels like it's worse than Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich. Jeff Ulbrich felt like he was drowning last year, but at least that team could get ahead in football games. And I understand they had Devontae Adams last year and Aaron Rodgers. But this team, that Bronco team doesn't look very good. Like the Jets they're not scoring touchdowns. They're not scoring touchdowns. And there's Jet fans that have more experience than I do. I've said openly on this show that I was not really into the Cote era. And I asked on the show, and I keep asking, and you can let me know in the comment section. Again, Super Chat jumped to the front of the line. I said, be honest with me. Is this worse than Cote? Because I wasn't personally there. I've watched all the documentaries. I know the stories, but I feel like unless you personally are in it to experience it, it's hard to really, like, I look at this to the 2020 Jets with Adam Gase. The one thing with that season was the hope was they were going to be so freaking bad that they were going to get Trevor Lawrence, who was arguably one of the best quarterback prospects in 15 years, and at least that would be worth all the suffering during the season. But they couldn't even land that plane correctly. So that to me was the most frustrating year as a fan, because that to me was the worst. But I know the 70s, they didn't have a winning season. I know the 80s, they had up and down years. I understand the Cote season. So again, you have to tell me, like, if you experience it, like, tell me what you really feel. Like, be honest. And like, like the same things we saw with Hackett. How many times the Jets run, pass, run, pass, run, pass? Like it's again, it feels like we're watching different characters, different scripts, but it's the same story. It's the same thing we're going through. 14 years, I guess, experience. Again, can you just elaborate 14 years? I'd love to hear why the big difference is, because both coaches have been horrendous. I really want to hear your take. Yeah, maybe the Cecil franchise we all want is actually the friends of me. I mean, I love Kevin. I do love the optimism. Yeah, Braden Mann. I mean, Joe Douglas special. Gotta love that. And look, Zach Wilson again. Like, you look back now in that draft class, and as hyped as we were, because that'd be one of the most disappointing. Even Trevor Lawrence has been good. I don't think he's been the player we thought. Zach Wilson's been horrendous. Trey Lance, the 49ers gave up all those picks, and he's not even on the team anymore. And Justin Fields has been a disaster. I mean, that's draft class has been horrendous. And it's weird. Like, I think what hurts the most now is you look back at that draft and you just wonder what would it be if Sam Darnold was still the quarterback. And again, I don't think Sam Darnold would have gotten to the potential he's gotten to unless he didn't go to San Francisco and he had some great offensive coaches like Kevin O'Donnell and with the Vikings. But you go through those scenarios in your head, I'm guessing it involved a lot of liquid courage to forget that, Kev. Again, I just want a comparison, because everyone said this is Cote-type. This is Cote-like. And look, that's the thing. If you're Aaron Glenn, you got to be worried, because when you are becoming a verb like Cote-type, it is just, you will not survive that. And like, I'm serious. Like, the range between 0 and 17, 215, you get a top 3 pick. One done will be it will be a topic we will talk about. But you look right now, there are 10 games left in this season, which again, you just think we have to go through 10 more rounds of this. The good news is there's a bye in there. So there is a little reprieve. But you're going to have to see a lot. Like, this isn't just like you have to see progress. You have to see significant progress from this team. You have to see significant change from this regime. And it's the coaching. I'll give the front office this. They went out and addressed a lot of their mistakes during the offseason with these trades. But this, to me, like, every week, I feel like I am doing the same show. And I feel bad for you guys, because I say the same things every week. And I want to say something different. But again, my job is to react to what I see and be honest with you. I think one of the reasons that I've grown this following and I look to continue to grow this following is not just because I have incredible listeners like you that ask really poignant and great questions, but I'm honest. I feel like I'm genuine. I'm not like just yelling and screaming just to get clicks. I feel like I try to be as temperamental as possible. And when I get upset, it takes a lot. Like when I'm upset, I'm really upset because it's upsetting me. I'm not just doing it just to do it. I really come on here every time I come on this show, and every time, especially after a Jets game, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be frank. I'm going to try to find the silver linings because I tend to just be a positive person. And again, with this fan base, you want to try to give them something to look forward to. You want to give something that will give you hope each week. Like, the big thing is I keep seeing the same things over and over again. Now, can you make the case the defense has looked a lot better? Yes. Is that a positive for Aaron Glenn and his staff? Yes. But when this offense is this bad, and we're talking historically bad, you have to wonder, can you sell to this owner and this fan base that you're the right choice to develop a quarterback? Because right now, I don't think you are. And you want to root for Aaron Glenn. I want Aaron Glenn to be successful because I don't want to go through another coaching search. I don't want to go through trying to debate who's the next head coach of the Jets. I don't want to go through that. And look, I'll even be frank. I was on the show. I said he wasn't my number one option. I still wanted Brian Flores. I would have preferred him. I would have rather had someone with previous head coaching experience just because I knew the task this was going to be to turn this around. And to me, it would be easier to turn this around if you had someone that wasn't learning on the job. And Aaron Glenn is learning on the job, and he is learning that this is incredibly difficult. Because I'll tell you this, it's going to keep getting uglier until he starts winning football games. I mean, this is going to be a national story. And until you win a game, you are heading toward an historically horrendous season. I mean, we've had 0-16 before. If you become the first team in history to be 0-17, they are gone. Heck, even this is a 1-16 team. There's only been the Lions that have lost 16 games in a season. That is still historically bad. And again, they only played 16 games in those seasons, but it's bad. And you have to look at seeing progress. I'm seeing it from the defense. I'm seeing it for 2 weeks. But this offense is just so bad. And if this coaching staff is going to blame, well, we don't have the personnel, we don't have the horses, you actively made the decision to come into this season with the roster constructed like this. You can seriously just, like, I was screaming it for weeks. Sign Smith at defense and sign to Javian Clowney because we are an injury away from having Michael Clemens play significant time in. Oh, look what happened. Oh, okay. Well, I said I wanted them to draft another quarterback instead of Brady Cook, or maybe try to bring in another project guy to sit behind Tyrod Taylor in case this experiment didn't work out. And it didn't work out. Now, who do you turn to? Like Brady Cook, like, again, I feel bad for the kid. He's an undrafted player. You're hoping he's maybe a backup caliber player, but you're not going to compete with a backup caliber quarterback. That's just how it is. So I still think Tyrod needs to be the starter. Tyrod needs to be out there for this sole purpose. Does Tyrod Taylor give the Jets the best chance to win? Probably, which isn't saying much. But here's my thought on Tyrod. He gives you the best chance to evaluate this team, and he gives you the best chance to develop these players. Because Mason Taylor is not going to develop as a tight end if he's not getting passes. You're not going to have Arian Smith develop if you're not taking shots down the field at him, where they finally were today with Tyrod Taylor. You're not going to help your young offensive tackles who are hoping will be stalwarts on this offensive line, and again, have shown potential. But I think a lot of the Olu struggles is the confidence, because he's not confident his quarterback's going to be getting rid of the football, or he's not confident his quarterback's going to make the right decision. Like, they're not developing if you're constantly allowing sacks or you're not willing to throw the football. You're not helping Breece Hall if there's 9 or 10 guys in the box. You're not helping Isaiah Davis out if there's 9 or 10 guys in the box. So, and here's the other thing too. This to me, and I don't think this is getting talked about with the one and done. And this will be my final thought. Again, Super Chat to jump to the front of the line. Super Chat if you want to get your final thoughts in here for the episode. Again, you can check us out wherever podcasts are available. Like and subscribe so you miss the latest live stream. This to me could be a rare offseason. there could be a plethora of head coaches that have former experience and who I would look at. If the Ravens move on from Harbaugh, I would seriously consider him. If the Browns moved off of Kevin Stefanski, I would consider Kevin Stefanski because they're former head coaches. And there's another candidate out there that I do think should be warranted. And if he says he wants to coach this team in a quarterback, the Jets should learn from their history and not repeat it. That's Mike McCarthy. And again, I know people are going to roll their eyes, but you know what, Mike McCarthy, his biggest knock is he does them in the big game. You know what he gets? He gets to the playoffs. And of all these head coaches, and I think Stefanski is another one why I look at him, you can make the case that both Stefanski and McCarthy had somehow crazier owners than the Jets. And they were able to deal with that and still take care of business, especially in McCarthy's case. Mike McCarthy, I think, is one of the biggest what ifs. If he was here instead of Adam Gase. Here's the thing, Mike McCarthy, no owner, crazy owner. You know what he does? He wins football games. You know what the Jets haven't done in 15 years is win football games. If we are in a world where Mike McCarthy is the Jets head coach and 4 or 5 years in, we're complaining, we'll have the gall to complain that he can only get to he can't even get to the championship game in the playoffs. Like, get me to that world. Get me to that world on the bank. Can the Jets upgrade the coaching staff? And here's the other thing too, and I know this will definitely be talked about, and I know he's going to push hard for it because Kev brings this up. I don't want Rex. I think Rex, do I think Rex would be an upgrade? I'm not sure. Look, the thing with Rex is we forget as Jet fans, he failed in Buffalo. Like, he had another opportunity to be a head coach, and it went miserably. And I love Rex. I love Rex. I think he was the best coach we've had, obviously, in the last 20 years, maybe outside of Parcells. And I appreciate the run he gave us and the memories he gave us. But Rex also didn't handle the quarterbacks well. I mean, I don't think he really developed Mark Sanchez too much. He didn't help Mark get to that next level. I think bringing in Tim Tebow was a dumb decision. And I also look back and I go, he didn't really help Geno Smith develop either. So I look back on it and I go, he had more than one crack at a young quarterback to develop, and he kind of is 0 for 2. Maybe half of 2 if you want to consider Sanchez's early years, but it's just frustrating. But final thoughts. For me, I think that you need to have Tyrod be the starter just simply so you can give these guys a chance as roster to play. But look, until the Jets get a win in the win column, it's going to be tough sledding for this regime. And you want to quiet the noise. You want to quiet the Jet fans. You want to, quote, do what you said and give a team that we want to be proud of. You know, that's what Aaron Glenn said. I want a team the Jet fans can be proud of. I'll tell you, through 7 weeks, we're embarrassed. We're angry. We're frustrated. Like, we were willing, I think, as Jet fans, to give Aaron Glenn the runway. We were willing to take our lumps this year, but we wanted a team, and I think it's very easy, that goes out and competes every week. A team that is in games, a team that is feisty, a team that, you know, one thing I was expecting, I thought this team was going to be a bunch of hard A's. You know, I thought these guys were going to come out. They were going to be a physical, mean team. Yeah, they might not be talented, but they're going to be a team that you're going to have to be in the ice tub every week because they're going to physically manhandle you. And I've not seen that. I have not seen that at all. But look, it's frustrating. I know it's been, you know, you're probably getting some Tylenol tonight. Maybe some of you are getting some liquid courage to help you get through this loss. But the one thing that will remain constant through all this is I'll be here for you. I'll be there for you throughout this Jets struggles. Again, we'll have trade deadline content coming up. My thoughts on the trade deadline, what players could get moved, what players won't, my thoughts on Woody's impact on the trade deadline. And, of course, if you haven't checked it out already, we talked with Dom C on Thursday. You can check out the video now where we looked at quarterbacks. Again, we do a lot of NFL draft content on this channel. So if you're an NFL draft fan or you want all the latest on the Jets, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss that. And, of course, you can check us out wherever podcasts are available. We're able to listen to the recap. And if you're coming on after the show and you want to leave a comment, make sure to do so. I try to get to every comment as often as I can. But once again, the Jets fall to the Panthers. Not only are they winless, but now they are touchdownless in 2 consecutive games. Just endure the suffering, ladies and gentlemen, because it just seems like it never ends. And I hope it will end. I'm positive it will end eventually, but we're going to have to see major signs of life and not have a lifeless offense like we have for the last 8 quarters. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time on Rich Sports Talk.